Hello, everybody. Welcome to Captivate the Mic with Elaine Williams. I am so excited. You're in for such a treat. This woman is so powerful and so kind and brilliant and smart and supportive. She is an estate attorney and has helped me navigate all the crazy stuff with my father. And she's helped so many of my friends. Amy Jenkins. Amy, thank you for being here.
Elaine, yay. I'm happy to be
Yeah.
here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm just excited. And you know how like you hear people say, "Oh, you got to get this in order," but when you're younger, you're like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 that won't happen to me." Blah blah blah, right? And then it happens, and you're like, "OMG!" So I want everybody to learn from my mistakes, kids. And my father passed at the end of February. I had power of attorney and medical power of attorney, and I thought I was golden.
Mm.
And he had a DNR, and I thought that's all we needed. Like, there are so many things you don't know what you don't know. And to try to figure it out when you're grieving is not the best thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I shared with you, I lost my dad in June,
Yeah.
and it's given me a whole new perspective on what I do, quite honestly. And like I always know how important the planning is, right? Your will, your trust, your powers of attorney, but there's these other things that come that decisions that are asked of you that you're like, oh my gosh, we never talked about this. I don't know. How would he want to be remembered? What's important to put in this eulogy and things like that. So I've learned a lot the last few months too. Yeah.
Yeah, and personally as well. But, one of the first times I saw you speak, you spoke about how, somebody had died and they couldn't get access to the laptop to get the password for the bank account, and they didn't know if there was enough money to keep paying this mortgage. And so it's such a panicky feeling. Do you
Hmm.
want to tell that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mom passed away suddenly. She was in her probably only in her early 60s, but she had one adult daughter. And the daughter didn't know anything, right? My mom passed without a will. And my client, the daughter, was just, she wasn't even sure where mom banked, how much money there was. Because as soon as the bank knows that someone has passed away, they freeze the bank accounts. Like you have to go to court and get a special document to be able to access them. So she didn't know what was in her mom's account, where she banked. And so everything, it was like, fortunately, it was on auto pay,
Thank
but
goodness. Right.
she had no idea how much money was in that checking account that the house payment was being made out of, the insurance, the car payment, all of it was on auto pay. And it was all stuck in this laptop computer. And this daughter tried 9 ways from Sunday, right, to figure out the PIN, the passcode, and she couldn't. And it took, just by the way, and it was so stressful because she was working herself. She didn't have extra funds to be able to support mom's estate bills as well as her own. And we just had to just hold our breath. And it took 9 months to get
9 months.
it took 9 months to get this letter. They're called letters of administration, and that's I call it the key to an estate is the letters. And so 9 months before she could even walk into a bank and get any information. So meanwhile, it's like the car company, for example. This was the mom was leasing a BMW. Turns out with BMW, just FYI, most contracts will say death is a good enough reason to terminate the contract. Well, BMW doesn't think that.
Oh
So
no.
even though
Oh
mom
my
passed
God.
away, they're like, you still owe money. You still owe money for this lease because death doesn't terminate the contract. So
Wow.
it was very stressful on her. And that was a hard one. That was a really hard one. And it happens quite frequently where this happens, and then the kids or the loved ones have to get together and try and figure out how do we keep the lights on while we're waiting through this probate process. And then if you're selling a house, once you get the letter, okay, great, you can put it on the market, but then it's however long it's going to take to sell it. So having access having access to that money after someone passes away is so important, and to understand how you will access money and what money you will use, because you're going to need some money to pay the attorney, to pay the taxes. That's not if there's going to be expenses, it's how much are the expenses. Yes.
Yeah. And I know for me, like my relationship with my father was complicated, like everybody's.
Sure.
And I was happy to help him, but also it was incredibly frustrating the last couple of years. He was like a wild bronco, like running off to do substitute dentistry, changing tires and having cars fall on him, and then having to have multiple surgeries. Like he was in denial that he was in his 80s and
Yep.
declining. And so he was just so hard to sort of manage and wrangle. And I know that that is true for many, many people.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I wish I had said, "Hey, I know I have power of attorney, but let's talk about what happens after." And and you've helped us because we he didn't have an estate, he didn't have an executor, and but we had this car, and so we're like, what do we do? And I didn't want to like go try to go do the whole court thing to be named as an executor for just this one silly car.
Yep.
So Amy helped us with the right form, and then of course we're dealing with the tax thing and the Carvana. It's a lot. It's a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And I want to commend you for having your dad having his powers of attorney, because what we've been talking about, what happens when you pass away and maybe you don't have a will, or you do have a will, what comes with that is probate, right? And so that's what we were talking about earlier about the 9-month deal, right? So just kind of to educate everybody, when you pass away, any assets that you own, I think it's helpful to think of it like this: they're frozen. And one thing I like to point out in particular is with a married couple, because this is one of the myths out there, is that, and we'll just talk traditional, like husband, wife, you own a home. You own a home here, and I'm in Texas, so I'm talking about Texas, but we are a community property state, which means husband and wife own this house, if you want to think of it half and half. And let's
Okay.
say the husband passes away, that his half of the house does not automatically go to the spouse, the surviving spouse. You actually, if you don't have a trust, you need a probate to get that husband's half of the house into the wife if she's the beneficiary. And a lot of people don't understand that. So,
Wow.
yeah, so what happens is mom doesn't know or wife doesn't need to know we need to probate dad's half or husband's half. And then mom passes away and it gets to the kids, and then the kids are looking at a double probate. And I've done a
Which is
couple of
time and money.
That's time and money and expense, right? So instead of just probating mom's estate, we've got to go back and do dad's as well. And that's
Oh,
expensive and it's overwhelming. And so I like to always tell people, because they're always super surprised that they don't think that happens automatically. It's going to go to the surviving spouse, the house. So that doesn't happen without a probate. And probate is this court process where we go to essentially unfreeze those assets. The judge is going to name either an executor if you have a will, or administrator if you have no will, to be in charge of the assets. And so, but a judge has to sort of bless the executor, appoint the executor, and make sure everything's in order. Then the executor, the administrator, goes out to do the work of selling the house, collecting the bank assets or the brokerage account, or selling the car. All of that happens after you get through court. So, average time for probate in Texas can be anywhere from 9 to 18 months. And
oh my.
again, yeah, who's footing the bill to keep the lights on and pay the taxes and the insurance? So, it's really important to think about that and how we're going to handle that. Yeah.
So do you recommend putting stuff in trusts?
Yeah, so it is very appropriate for certain people to have their estate planning be in a revocable living trust. There's different kinds of trust. There's revocable trust, or revocable, depending on either one is right, or irrevocable trusts. And for probate avoidance, so to avoid that whole court process and the waiting time and all of that, you can use a revocable living trust, which is going to allow your assets to pass immediately without any kind of court or probate. So the way I explain a trust is pretty simple. I am definitely I use props to teach. So
Good.
I just have a little thingy here. I don't know what to paper
It's
clip
like a
holder or
cup.
something.
For
Yeah.
and if you're
Yeah.
listening to the audio, it's a cup.
It's like a little cup. Yeah. And
Okay.
so when I create a trust and you sign your trust into existence, it's like you have an empty cup. And then what we do is we then take your assets, like your home, and we put it in the trust, your bank accounts in the trust, right? Brokerage accounts, all your assets. And then when you pass away, it's a matter of simply naming who's going to be your successor trustee who will take this cup from you and do what you want to do with the assets. Leave it to my kids, leave it to my spouse, leave it to charity. And all that happens without court. So it's
Oh,
fast, it's quick, it's way less stressful, it's less expensive.
why doesn't
And
everybody do this, Amy?
right, because not everyone has lots, I don't want to say lots of assets, right? Like some people, if you're living on a social security check and you live in an
Right.
apartment and you've got
And
five
it's not
grand
worth
in
it.
your bank
Right.
account, probably not. If you have businesses, if you have real estate, if you have real estate in more than one state, if you have a high conflict family, if you're concerned with privacy, those are all excellent reasons to consider a revocable living trust. So it's pretty attractive. But yeah, there is a way to avoid this probate thing using a trust. In trust, a lot of people hear trust and they think like Warren Buffett. No,
Right.
it's trust. Like they're only for rich people, they're only for people with tons of money or whatever. No, it's actually not. It's if you want to avoid probate, it's a great thing to consider. Yeah.
And probate, so that just means court, and
Hmm.
you have to get a lawyer. And
Correct.
so what is the average? Is there an average? Is it like 2,500, 5,000?
So there's court fees always, right? Court fees can generally add up to, I don't know, around $1,000 by the time you're said and done. And then you
Okay.
need to pay an attorney. So in Texas, there's no what we call pro se. So you can't just go represent yourself like some people do in a divorce and go up in front of the judge. You
Right.
can't do that here in Texas. You've got to hire a probate attorney. And as far as cost, I think as an average, you're looking anywhere from $5,000 or $6,000 to $25,000. I've heard numbers all in there. And it also depends if your attorney is going to work on a flat price basis, which that's how I work, or if your attorney is going to charge you hourly. And hourly rates I have seen vary from anywhere from $250 an hour to upwards of $1,000 an hour.
Wow.
So, yeah. And the people that have paid 20 grand, 25 grand, I've asked them, I'm like, well, what, were things contested? Were you fighting? No. And so if you've got an hourly attorney that charges $1,000 an hour, you're going to be on that higher end.
Wow.
So, mhm.
And now a quick message. Are you a female business owner or a female in corporate and you know it's time to work on your speaking? You know it's time to work on your executive presence. You know it's time. You are meant for more. My name's Elaine, and I've helped hundreds of people just like you get more comfortable, more confident, and become a truly charismatic speaker. So that whenever you stand up to speak, whether it's in front of 5 people or 5,000, people lean in anticipation. When you are a charismatic speaker, you have an unfair advantage, and people can't even put their fingers on it. So if this resonates with you, if you're ready for more, you know you're meant for more, click the button below. Let's schedule a call. I'd love to chat with you and find out what you're up to, what you're committed to, what you're excited about, and see if there's a way we could possibly partner or work together. And now, back to the show. Woo! Whew, okay. Okay. And then I think a lot of people like they want to talk to an attorney, but they're afraid that's going to be so expensive. Can
Mhm.
you speak to that?
Yeah, especially on the like the planning side. Like when you think about and with this age of social media and TikToks and YouTube and videos and so many more people are starting to understand it seems to me the importance of it. And also people are a lot more curious about trust these days. But as far as the cost of planning, sorry, that's what we're talking about, right? Sorry, I lost it in my mind,
No,
Elaine.
that's okay. Yeah, I think just so many people they're like, I want to talk to an attorney, but they're like,
Ah,
it's going to be so much money. Like they,
okay. Right. Okay. So, first of all, I think to sit down with an attorney and just get some information could be anywhere from free to a couple $100 in a consult fee. I always say to folks that come out down and sit down with me in a consult, I charge currently $250, which I think is super reasonable. But I'm gonna ask you to do some homework. And this homework, just doing the homework alone is going to help you, right? It's gonna
right.
help you get organized. It's gonna help you think about who your decision makers would be. I'm gonna ask you for a list of your assets. So just the act of visiting the attorney can actually leave you in a better spot. But
Right.
I think it's so important to sit down with an attorney. And again, while we're in this age of so much information on social media, there's a lot of misinformation, if that's
Oh
a
my
word, out
gosh,
there.
yes.
And the other thing about sitting down with an attorney is everybody's family is just a little bit different. Like, what you want to be discussing with the attorney is like, what are your concerns? What's the deal with your family? Like, I have three kids, and one of them is uber successful. The other one has gone after his dreams. And then I've got a failure to launch kid or something, right? Or they have an active addiction or we're estranged or I hate their spouse or it's so important. This is what I think I would say. I would encourage people, number one, hopefully it doesn't cost as much as you think, but I think you're going to get way more value
Yeah.
and information. And then that can sort of start to tamp the confusion, the nerves, the what ifs, and I always say statistics show that 100% of us are going to pass away, right?
Oh
So
my God.
it's not like it's not going to happen. But I
Right.
think a lot of people, this area is so full of fear. Like one common fear is if I go and talk to Amy about this, or if I get my will or my trust done, I'm going to die. I'm going to sign it and then I'm going to die. Guess what? People have asked me, has that happened? And I was like, no,
Nope.
that's actually not happened. I mean, have my clients passed away? Yeah, but it's been years and years later and they had lived a nice long life. So I
Isn't
wanted
that
to,
interesting? So people think, oh my gosh, if I do this, then the
yep,
universe is gonna
yes.
take me.
That's what people believe. And the younger you are, the more likely you are to believe that, is what I've noticed. And the other thing is, I forget this and I try and remind myself of it that I think that sitting down and talking to an attorney is kind of a scary, stressful thing to do in most people's minds. Because if I'm sitting in an attorney's office, something's gone wrong. And not necessarily with the estate planning attorney. I am in the peace of mind business because, like, when we sit at the signing table and we sign, people, they're visible, like their shoulders go down. They let out a deep breath. They
Wow.
say, oh, I'm going to sleep so good tonight because I know I've taken care of my business, right? I know what's going to happen to my spouse, my kids. So it was important that some of this go to charity. Now I know what's going to happen.
Right? Peace
Right?
of mind. I love it. Peace of mind business. Amy, how did you pick this? What led you to pick this?
Yeah. Well, a long time ago, I used to be a litigator, which means I had to go in the courtroom and argue in front of a judge, sometimes in front of a jury. And I really wasn't any good at it. I mean, I could go in and win a case,
It
but
takes
I
a
was,
certain personality, right? You got to be a little dramatic. You got to.
yes. And like, yeah, yes. And I just am not those things, but But back then, this was quite a while ago, my grandmother passed away and she had a will. And my aunt was the executor, and she said, well, will you help me probate this? And I said, sure. And so we did. And my grandmother had 5 kids, my dad being one of them. So 4 girls and a son, 5 of them. She left it everything to them equally. Okay, so she didn't do anything unequal. And she had a very, very modest estate. She had a small home, she had a little in the bank, she had been in a nursing home. So when she passed away, it was basically just sell her house and split the proceeds of the house. Now she had tons of antiques and things like that. But I watched my dad and my aunts just go to war with each other over all this dumb stuff. I mean, like, I call it the red rooster that was in her kitchen, or this antique buffet that was over here. And they just fought like cats and dogs over this stuff. And I was
Stupidest
like,
things.
yeah. And then just to finish the story, just that actually did it in for like, this was a little more than 20 years ago. Then they just lost touch with each other, quit talking to each other. And
Wow.
yeah, and so my dad passed this year. So there's one aunt left, and she's the youngest. And I saw her at my dad's funeral. And so I was really bothered by this. And I was like, even though she did leave a will, believe it or not, Elaine, these personal items, this is not uncommon what happened with my grandmother's estate,
Right.
fighting over the little heirlooms, personal items. So being in the courtroom, I said it would make sense if we could get ahead of this stuff in the planning process, right? And
Right.
I got interested in estate planning and I did basic estate planning. And then as the years went by, I got more interested in doing more complex things. But what led me to it was the destruction of my dad's family
Yeah.
over the little red rooster. And I was like, this really happened. And so now I give my clients a really good, there's a thing called a personal property memo. And I say, listen, I know this looks like a little silly document, but it's actually really, really important. And do you have things that your daughter wants, your son wants, your niece wants? If you do, we've got to fill out this personal property memo because this is what is going to keep your family from going to pieces because as we know, losing a matriarch, a patriarch of the family, it throws everything into chaos. And then people sometimes aren't their best, right? When they're in grief. And sometimes this causes families to just get into lots of conflict and they don't even know, like, they just know they're angry and upset. And there's like, here's a target, right?
Right.
And so what got me into this was, hey, we can get ahead of this. Like, let's
Right.
talk today about the heirlooms, the things, the jewelry, the whatevers, and let's get those planned for. And let me tell you one thing that I've come up with in the past year that I like even better. I mean, I didn't come up with it. I've had some clients do this with great success, which is if you want to go ahead and start giving your people these items, it brings you as the giver such great joy to see their face, to see them wear it, to see them use it, that I've encouraged people if you are ready to start parting with things, which is a gift to your family as well,
Right.
you can receive some joy, right, from giving these things. So it's
Oh, I
like, no,
love
don't
that.
wait till you're gone. Like, do it today. And it's been really fun watching people do that.
Well, I
So,
do love to give gifts. And when I moved from Austin to New York, I was giving away so much cool stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, that's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a great story about the Red Rooster.
Mm-hmm. And it's so true. It's so true. And yeah.
I remember my grandparents they were really cool, but they would do things like, who's gonna get this to all the cousins. And I'm so glad that I think we were all like, whatever. Like,
I
that's
know.
not healthy.
It's not healthy. It's not healthy at all.
Yeah,
And I think like you or you as the general population we're talking to here know if you're in a family friend group like that.
right.
Because your grandma's doing that and you're like, okay, grandma, let's talk here. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's what I say to people. So kind of I guess we're going full circle here. That's the important thing about coming in and sitting down is number one, I try to make people as comfortable as possible because I am an attorney. That's what I do for my job, but I like don't identify as I'm an attorney. That's who I
right.
am.
You're also a coach, a
Yeah.
mom.
Yes. And like being an attorney is a way to help people with this stuff.
Right.
So we try to make it warm and welcoming to come in and get everyone's temperature, get the nerves down, and then just be as honest as you as possible with your estate planning attorney because we can just make your plan even better the more detailed we can get. And that's why we discuss things. We're not just talking about your assets. We're also, I'm asking people, what do you want after you pass away? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be buried in a special
Right.
spot? Do you want to be cremated? Should we be doing something with your ashes? Do you want to donate your body to science? Like, what is it that you want to happen? And we're getting that down in the planning too, because
Which is
if,
so important. It's so
yeah,
much better than leaving that to your poor grieving
and they don't
relative.
know what to do. They don't like they want to do like the cremation because that's $2,500 versus I don't know 15 or whatever for your full-on funeral and casket and burial. So then and then in this and as like a coach, like this can really get screwed up in your mind. Like, wait, did I do the cremation because I thought that was the best thing, or should I have buried? Should I, what? And
Yeah,
then that can mess with you.
I'm so glad my dad had already set that up. But even that, Amy, thank God I'm a comedian too. So like I go and there's all these super fancy ash
Yep.
holding things that are like thousands of dollars. Or you can have his ashes put into space for $5,000. I mean, I was like, are
Yes.
you kidding me? I was like, we'll just take the box. We just need the box. Like my
Mhm.
dad would not want a fancy urn that's thousands of dollars.
That just sits there. Yes, yeah, exactly. And then even though like I knew my dad wanted the traditional service, I still when I went to the funeral home to make the arrangements, are like, "Hey, do you want us to take his fingerprints and put it in a necklace?
I
Hey,
know,
do you
like
want to like there's all these things. Do you want
there's
to?"
so many, right.
And I was
Yeah.
like, "Should I say yes? Is it right to say yes? Wait, would my?" And then I was like, "Wow." That was when I was having my aha moments about wow. And of course, not to be controversial, but I mean, we all know they're in the sales business too, right? And so the more
Yeah.
the more you
It is a
buy,
big business. I
yeah.
was shocked at it was like thousands of dollars to have remains move from one funeral home to another. And I was cracking jokes and I could tell I was making them mad because I was like, are you kidding? And I thought, okay, Elaine, back. This is their profession. But yeah. So wow, Amy,
Yeah.
this is so helpful. I think I know I feel like a big breath. And I can't wait to get I have a will, but it's time to redo things. If people want to know more,
Yeah.
I know you teach, you do master classes, I know you do all kinds of cool talks all over the Dallas area. If they want to find you, what is the easiest way?
The best way to find me is probably at my website. So www.amyjenkinslaw.com, AMY. That's probably the best way.
Okay,
You
and
can
we'll have that in
schedule
the show notes too,
hmm
amyjenkinslaw.com.
Can schedule a
Yeah.
free little 15-minute consult. My phone number's there. You can pick up the phone, talk to Kathy. She's our wonderful intake person that can answer your questions because that's the other thing. Just call. We're not going to be like, hey, you have to come in. You have to do
Yeah.
that. Just call.
Amy is not aggressive.
Yeah.
That's why she
I
wasn't
am
good as a
not.
litigator. That's hilarious that you were like, I wasn't good at
I was not good at it. I
it.
hated it. I hated it. So, which is why I don't handle any contested matters. So, I'm able to handle probate on a flat fee basis because if you're going to fight, I have to send you to the litigator. And so,
Okay.
and by the way, if you're going to fight, I just want everyone to understand this one thing. You're just spending your inheritance. You're taking your inheritance and you're giving it to the attorney to fight about things that's probably going to get resolved. And at the end of the day, instead of you getting $100,000 of inheritance, you're going to get 50. And so just know that's when you start fighting over the principle of the thing, you're just using your inheritance money to pay attorneys. Now, not, and I don't want to imply that that's not ever necessary because
Right.
certainly it is.
In
But
certain
just,
situations, I'm sure. Yes.
yes, but if you find yourself talking about the principle of the thing and giving an attorney a $10,000 retainer so you can fuss, so you can have $5,000 more, just you might want to think twice about that. And I mean that sincerely and with all kindness. I do. It's like a hot tip.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things of like, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And
Yeah.
like Rumi is one of my
Hmm.
favorite poets. And he says, out beyond where there is right or wrong, I'll meet you there.
Yes, I love that quote too. I
I love
love that
that quote
quote.
so much. I'm like,
Yeah.
who cares? Can
Yeah.
we just, we're all in the same, we're team human. And I
Yes.
know that's oversimplifying and every situation is different, but
But
I
it,
just want us all to love and laugh more.
same, same,
Thank
same,
you,
same.
Amy. Thank you so much. You've guided us through so much stuff, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I'm so grateful. And I hope that anybody who listens to this will can reach out because it's worth investing the time and energy and not waiting and not
100%.
and just educate yourself because I really thought, oh, I've got the power. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's basically another huge myth is I have my mom or my dad's power of attorney. I
yep.
can use it after they pass away.
Yeah.
That document
Yeah.
that ceases to exist with your parent or
The
whoever.
minute they die, it is over.
It's over, it's done. You can't use it anymore. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank
Thank
you
you,
so much,
Elaine.
Amy. We appreciate
Thank
everybody
you.
listening and thank you. Okay. Bye.